All right, we'll start the business session of the May 9th Board of Education meeting. First order of business, conduct reorganization of the board. Item A is elect president. Any nominations for president?
I nominate John Donovan.
Any other nominations for office of president?
Oh, good.
I have to do it 3 times. Any other nominations for president? Hearing none, I am nominated for president.
Ooh.
I make a motion that we vote to keep John as the president.
All right,
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. I am the president.
You need to say that 3 times.
Yeah. Next item is elect vice president. Any nominations for vice president?
I nominate Leo Thomas Card.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations for vice president? Hearing none.
I make a motion that we vote to keep Leo as our vice president.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Leo is elected vice president. Item C, elect clerk.
I nominate Carrie Hildebrandt.
Any other nominations? Carrie is nominated. Any other nominations for clerk? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
So move.
Motion
Second.
by Leo, seconded by Kathy. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No vote.
Carrie is our new clerk. Item D, elect treasurer. Any nominations for treasurer?
I nominate Kathy McGrath.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Hearing none. Motion.
I make a motion that we retain and keep Kathy as the treasurer.
I second it.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Kathy is our treasurer. Next item, report from student representatives and student recognition.
I have just a quick note on student recognition, and then I'll turn it over to our student representatives. The math team had their final competition, and we ended up in that, we were in the top 3 as a school, and I think we're number 3. And so math team did an excellent job. So I don't know if you were going to talk about that at all. Nope. Nope. Okay. So just wanted to make sure that you heard that. So I will turn it over to our students and say that 2 of them, they'll have at least one more time in front of the Board of Education in about 3 weeks on a Sunday afternoon. So take it away.
Okay, I'm Paige Wilcox. I'm a senior, and I participate in student council, law enforcement, and manage basketball, volleyball, and baseball. And I have a job at the YMCA in childcare. And I'm going to be attending Winona State University this next fall for either nursing or elementary education.
I'm Emily Wilcox. I'm a junior. I participate in law enforcement, drama, FELA, and I'm a class officer. I work at the YMCA, and I just finished my CNA class at Midstate, and I plan on attending a 4-year college after high school.
And I'm Jordan Rasmussen. I'm a senior in high school. I'm in drama club, student council, law enforcement, and I manage the baseball and volleyball team. And I plan on going to Bemidji State University in the fall for nursing.
Okay, to start off with baseball and softball, they both have been competitive in their season so far. They have a game tomorrow, boys in Tri-County, girls in Tri-County, doubleheader. And then graduation is coming up June 3rd at 2 o'clock in the big gym. Hopefully following with pictures out by the greenhouse after. And then the seniors' last day is May 30th, and the rest is June 7th.
Okay, So, the 28th of last month, we held prom at the Elks Club, and the theme was neon lights. And then on the 25th of May, the drama club is going to host the variety show, and you can get in for a small fee, or you can bring a canned good.
And a couple weeks ago, we got the opportunity to celebrate Earth Day at our school, which is a huge opportunity because not many schools dedicate their whole day to Earth Day, so that was pretty cool. And this Friday, we're having an in-school pep assembly. Rise Together is coming to talk to us, and they're a mental health awareness group.
Nothing else? Just kidding. Very nice job.
Thank you very much.
Very proud of you three that were all my kindergarten students.
We do have senior dessert coming up as well on May 23rd at 6:30. So,
You're welcome to stay if you would like. Or you
There's
can-
some extra seats in
Thank you.
Thank you.
there.
Next item is the President's report. Happy to report all the board members are present. Our next board meeting is June 13th. And July would be when, Kathy? We can set July meeting?
July 11th
I
is
would actually ask that the board push that back 1 week.
that's Independence Day on the 4th.
Yeah, push it back 1 week.
Oh,
The 18th.
oh,
No,
okay,
from the
okay,
11th, yeah.
okay.
Okay. We'll plan on July 18th then for the July meeting. And next item is proclamation. Whereas the school nutrition employees provide nutritious, well-balanced, reasonably priced meals to more than 485,000 Wisconsin school children each day. And whereas meals prepared and served by school nutrition employees may significantly enhance the student learning environments, allowing children to concentrate on graduating with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in the workplace or towards further studies, the primary goal of every child to graduate, college and career ready. And whereas school nutrition employees creatively nurture partnerships with parents, teachers, community groups, and governmental personnel to promote the nutritional values of their programs. And whereas school nutrition employees provide a caring, respectful school food service environment. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tony Evers, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, do hereby proclaim May 7th through the 11th, 2018 as School Nutrition Employee Week in the state of Wisconsin. And we have,
We actually have one in attendance this evening.
and we
We-
provide a little something for
Yep.
them. Yeah.
It's a
All right.
very important job and a hard one.
Huge job, great job. Our employees do an amazing job getting the kids fed, and you know, I hope we see a lot of smiling faces because they've earned that. So
Okay, next up is administrative report. Kyle.
graduation was already mentioned, and that was one of the items. So June 3rd at 2 p.m. So and the board will have to determine how you want to hand out diplomas and things. The other item that I wanted to mention was our progress on a whole bunch of our facilities projects that are going on. We're currently in phase 3 of our energy efficiency project. All work for that phase has to be done by June 30th. The high school roof was a big component of that at the gymnasium. I will say that's 96% done. The only thing that needs to be done there now is that the metal needs to be put on. The trim work metal needs to be put on, but the new roof is on. The new drains are in. So all of that work that was slated there, the insulating, all done. As well, this year we've finished off our the part of the energy project that dealt with lighting in this phase is complete. The only additional lighting that would come would be if there's any contingency money left at the end of the project as a spend out of that project. We did have one issue that cropped up during and it was a lot of gray hairs on this particular issue, dealing with essentially the lighting in the gymnasium. So the retrofit lighting in the gymnasium to LED. We did have one of those lights not fall down to the floor, but partially come down. As a result, we closed our gymnasium and made sure that all the lighting was well secured. The electrical contractor came in, retrofit the lighting to make sure it was secure. The plan that they had originally used was they simply did an install that was a replacement of what was there. And that brought up some other thoughts. Did we have some other issues going on from years of basically water leakage going on around some of the drains and in other places? Did we have a problem with some of the original ceiling that was in that gymnasium? So we did have, in tandem with the insurance company that insures us and also paid on the claim for the water damage a year ago, the insurance company re-investigated that claim and brought in a structural engineer who spent the better part of a day. He spent so much time climbing around in our ceiling and reviewing it and going through things. He came out just a sweaty mess. I mean, he looked at all kinds of areas, looked at the area that was damaged a year ago, looked at the lighting, how that was installed, and determined we do not have any structural issues in our ceiling, and is filing his report to that effect. So we've reopened our gymnasium. With this phase, the metal roof facade at the elementary and the gymnasium or upper roof here at the elementary will be completely done. Again, insulation added, and those things will be finished off. That will essentially end phase 3. Phase 4, the final phase of our energy projects, will commence on July 1. Hopefully they are all done by the day school starts, and next year we are not doing energy projects during the school year. That phase calls for the addition of variable drives and some work being done on our gymnasium heating system to allow more efficient use of that heating system. Right now, the way it's set up, it's either on or off. And so it can be a whole lot more efficient than that. And so we're increasing the efficiency there. Also adding, installing new univents in several areas, and the remainder of the roof here at the elementary building that has not been done. So those things will be done. That's what's coming up for the summer. So we've got a summer full of those projects on energy efficiency. Safety and security grant as well deals with facility. There are 2 areas of funding. The first, every school is eligible for and will receive, is called primary funding. It is to basically do 2 things: harden the primary entrance at each school and put door locks on any classrooms that do not have door locks. I'll get to that in a moment. For us, what does that mean? It really means what we'll be eligible for, and what's going to come out of that is we will be installing at the elementary main entrance, the high school main entrance, and one other set of doors at the middle school, high school, and that's because we have essentially, for this purposes of this grant, we have 3 schools. We have a high school, a middle school, and an elementary. Although we only have 2 main entrances, we have 3 schools, so we get to fund 3 entrances. We'll probably be looking at doing the athletic entrance at the middle school, high school as our 3rd entrance. What that's going to get for us, at least in this primary funding, there is a product that is a Shatter Proofing product. It's made by 3M, installed by certified installers. Basically what would happen is it would make those doors resistant to shattering, or any of the glass in those doors resistant to shattering for several minutes. You can take a look, there's a YouTube video. I think it takes about 1.5 to 2 minutes for an intruder to get through the glass. The intruder shoots at the glass, takes a takes the butt end of a rifle to the glass, kicks the glass. It takes about 2 minutes to punch through that. It does not bulletproof the glass. Going bulletproof glass would be an incredible expense. But it does shatterproof it, and what the concept there is, it is buying time. It buys time. Now, we're also then eligible, and we do have some criteria we'll have to meet, but we'll be eligible for $60,000 in additional funding called advanced funding. What we're looking at doing with that advanced funding is hardening the rest of the entrances here at the elementary that are in the classrooms. Each classroom area has 4 exterior entrances. Those are a point of vulnerability that we're looking to harden, and we would look to use the same shatterproof type material. Long-term, our look at those, and we're working with the contractor right now to get a long-term solution. The shatterproofing is probably a short-term, but the 60 will not fund the long-term. Long-term is probably eliminating the vast majority of those entrances, bricking and blocking those in and putting in windows, and then shatterproofing those windows, and then probably retaining, and we're working with some security consultants with CISA 10 and some of their school consultants on this, probably retaining at least an entrance out of each of those areas that would go to the outside. But again, making sure those entrances are hardened. We'd also be looking at finishing the elementary school's playground fencing as part of this $60,000. That would be extending the fence, what I would say is the kindergarten playground, extending the fence all the way over here to the corner of the building, and then adding fencing and gating in on the 4th grade side, the 3rd and 4th grade side, so that the elementary school playgrounds are fenced in, so that, again, it's just another thing to slow somebody down from getting to kids, getting into the school's property. Again, it's not you're slowing somebody down with these measures. The other piece is reallocating some of that funding. Now, this is where I said door locks, and I'm still working on this. Our kindergarten classroom does not have any doors. You have approved the addition of doors already for next year's budget as part of our kindergarten classroom. What we may do is put those doors into the advanced funding, take those out of next year's budget if we have room to fit that in, and then seeing if the primary funding can pay for the door locks for those doors, since one of the most expensive parts of those doors is actually the locking mechanisms and door handle mechanisms. So we're seeing if we can do some reallocating there. Regardless, there will be doors there, there will be locks there next year, but we may reallocate some funding based on these grants. We're looking at that. And the other piece is probably adding some sort of barrier to the doors that are at least adjacent to the street out here, so that somebody couldn't run a vehicle into them. So doing some sort of, whether it be a large landscaping, one of those large landscaping boulders, or adding bollards, basically big concrete structures that you see at loading docks, doing something. So with those. Like I said, I'm still pursuing the idea of redesigning those arched entrances for long-term. Would not only help safety and security, there's energy things and other pieces there that come into play, but we're at least looking at the majority of this funding. We don't have the final budget put in place yet on this. We're working with the CISA 10 facilities group on this. This grant came out 3 weeks ago. It is due June 8th. So very little time to get this thing turned around and get all the numbers punched in. So we're working hard to get that done. We would obviously, if we have room, look to put the shatterproof film on other entrances and do other things there if we can. So that is the extent of the report on facilities and graduation.
All right, any questions for Kyle? Okay, next item is questions and comments from people in attendance. I see there's a number of people signed up, so I'll just call on you off the list here. First one is Justin Beck.
I'm going to address new business, item 21. I currently have 2 kids going through Port Edwards. Both of them are dual sport athletes, or 3 sport athletes. One's in the youth program, one's currently going through the high school program. Opening up or offering more sports, to me, it decreases the enrollment or possibility of enrollment for these kids already in programs that are struggling to have the numbers to have a team. Let's see. One of the other things that we're going to do, or could happen out of this, is opening up not just for golf, but you also have potential of soccer, hockey, swimming, other sports like that. I know it's very hard right now for student athletes to get the numbers of students out so that we can compete in these sports as it is. So having that, or having another co-op come up, will decrease that. Like I said, if you let the one sport come in, you're going to have to let them all. And you have the potential, if these programs fold up, you could potentially lose student athletes to other districts if the sports aren't here. Like I said, I have 2 kids that are 3 sport athletes, and look, my oldest is in high school, and we really can't do much there, but if we lose a football program or a baseball program, there's not much I can do for him in a senior year. But my youngest coming through, I will explore the options. That's a potential that lies in my family, and I know it's potential that lies in other families coming up. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Next up on the list is Max.
I'm also addressing topic 21. I'm a coach for 2 varsity sports, and I'm all for allowing students to have opportunities to be successful in whatever they choose to do, whether it is sports or whether it is different clubs, because that's what Port Edwards is all about. I mean, I'm an alumni here. I was involved in almost everything going through school as well. However, I am worried about the floodgates that this potential co-op might open up. Like Justin said, with soccer, with all those other sports that these students want to play, if we open it up to one, we're going to have to open it up to them all. Also, if we want to offer golf as a potential sport, why don't we offer it through the Port Edwards name? Why do we have to go through Nakusa to do so? Is there any way we can instead put, our kids, our students, in Port Edwards attire without Nakusa involved in this at all? Also, put the kids in port clothes, get them a volunteer coach or somebody who's going to work with them on a day-to-day basis or on a 3-day basis, per week, whatever it is. Get them in different tournaments, get them in regionals, get them in all this. Do that through the Port Edwards name. That's what we're all about. Why do we have to go to a different place? I don't understand the reason. Maybe there is one that I don't know about, but that's what I'm all about, as long as it's through the Port Edwards name, because that's what Port Edwards is about. Why do we have to go to Nakusa to co-op with this sport? That's all I got.
Thank you. Next on the list is Justin.
All right, so I'll throw you some quick numbers that I put together. First ones are for the WIA website, and I took all of our conference schools. And mind you, when I took the teams, the WIA counts track as 2, boys, girls. So that's where the numbers are coming from. In our conference, Pacelli has 18 teams, by far the most. Wild Rose has 14. Rosholt has 12. And then us and Pittsville are at 11. And there's 2 schools, Almond and Tri-County, that have 10. So in terms of what we offer, we're right there. Okay, we're right there with the other schools in our conference that are somewhat comparable. Pacelli is over 200 kids. We're not 150, 140, 130. Okay. Current participation numbers for our spring sports right now. As of April 13th, the email that Tim Miller sent out, we had 17 kids total. 8 boys, 9 girls. Baseball. What's that? Track, yep. Baseball, we have 12 kids. You can live with 12 kids. 6 of them are seniors. So next year we're going to have to replace 5, 6 kids. Softball, currently they have 13 kids. 7 of them are seniors and 1 is a foreign exchange student. So our numbers are razor thin right now. As we talked about at a previous board meeting, Kyle and I have been on this for quite a while. It's not something we've taken lightly in terms of we need to explore all the options if we have students that want to do these other things. Before Christmas, we sent out a survey. 29 kids replied. 18 of them listed that they would be interested in golf. That's between boys and girls. Okay? So when you see that number, you go, wow, there's a need there. Let's explore it. We opened up the possibility of a club golf team because you can't just jump into a WIA sport. We offered that option. 3 people showed up. 1 showed up not knowing that it interfered with their existing spring sport. Another showed up not ever playing the game of golf on a golf course, no equipment, and the other was a serious golfer. Kids sign up for a lot of different reasons. It sounds great, they don't follow through. In terms of kind of what Max touched on earlier, we're all about giving opportunities. That's what we want to do. We can give the golf opportunity without leaving. It's ironic because of the equipment that you need and the fact that most people have to pay a lot of money to go to golf courses. Golf in the WIA is extremely cheap. Most golf courses, they allow you to play for free as your high school. Okay? So they're going to be out there for free, especially if we have a minimal number. You work it out with the local course, they're more than willing to get young golfers. They're just looking to grow the sport. Other concerns that I have in terms of the co-op, Nakusa has 4 or 5 invites each year, and those are all day long. I just checked the schedule. They start at 9 a.m., and those aren't weekends. Those are weekdays. So there's 4 or 5 complete whole days that our students are going to miss. Practice time starts at 3:30. We get out at 3:18. We all know it doesn't take 12 minutes to get to the lakes, Lake Arrowhead. How much time are they going to have to miss for that? So, as I said, I'm not against giving opportunities. I'd love to see us get that 1, 2, 3, 4 kids that golf opportunity. And we can do it. But I just don't think going to Nakusa is the option because, like it's been touched on, what do we say to the gymnastic parent that says they want to send their kid to Lincoln? Or the parent that says they want to send their kid to Nakusa for soccer? At what point do we stop and say, we can't do that? We don't have the kids to put those type of sports out there. So, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Next on the list, well, Rachel, you'll be talking
Okay.
later, or you want to say something now?
It doesn't matter, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm a rookie.
When we get to you on the agenda, we can have it for unless you want to speak on something else, but.
No,
Okay,
that's my only
yep,
topic.
that's fine. Tim Martin's next.
I'd like to speak on the Cupola repair project. And
Did you skip me? Oh.
No, you're down below.
signed up
Tim
late,
signed
Donna.
before you.
You signed up after us, honey.
Well, I was gonna say.
Oh,
I would rather see the district use that funds for the Cupola in other ways within their district and look at exploring the option of getting a committee together to go out and get grants or talk to different foundations to sponsor the repair project. I understand the importance of it, but I think at this time where we stand as a district, those funds could be used in better ways throughout the district. And like look at them exploring that option, and if need be, I'd be willing to help out on that committee to go after those grants and talk to different foundations about art support. And then one other informational item the young ladies didn't touch on was track this year. Mr. Crandall said we got 19 athletes, or 17 athletes as of April.
As of 12th, yep.
Yeah. And they're fun to watch. It's nice. My daughter's been in high school track. This is her 3rd year, my oldest. And on the girls' side, we're finally able to have relay teams. And not only that, but both teams, the boys and girls, relays and the different individual sports that they're in competitions. They're competitive, and they're winning events and scoring points. And that's nice to see. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
thank you. Next up, Donna.
I walked in before him, I'm sorry.
didn't sign
I'm like,
in?
what did he do? I don't
You didn't sign
want
in?
to reiterate the same things everybody said. Maybe I'll take a little bit different twist, because I've been thinking about this too. Middle school daughter, high school daughter, thinking of the things we've had, and I've been here forever. I'm okay with change, flexibility, I get it. You know, in school, sports, classroom, whatever. A couple things I was thinking about, because I coached a little league during summer. I spent all my time with him. But I would like to see us grow and put our effort and money into the programs that we have. Like currently, that we just hired a third coach in track in middle school. Just think of keeping those numbers high to get up to the high school. Right now, our middle school baseball and softball kind of wander. They don't know when they're leaving. They don't know how they're getting rides. They don't know. That would be, since we're already utilizing middle or high school, if we could put our monies and efforts to a middle school program and enrich the programs we have. I'm all, you know, we're too thin. I get it. I coached for many years and I played whoever was on the bench just to play. I brought back the softball program. All of you, take a place. Let's go. We're playing. You know, I brought us back into WIA. I know how that is. And that kind of frustrates the coaches too. And I guess at some point, we've all got to make choices. You know, when I moved to Port, I said to my girls, they were soccer players and dancers. Well, they were the only kids from Port at dance or soccer. And I said, it's either volleyball or soccer. You want to be with your friends and part of your school, or do you want to, you know, and I guess there's a choice at that point, because we've got a lot. We've got about 6, 7 middle school gymnastic girls that are strong. We had hockey for a while. Soccer's always been kind of, you know, on the back plate. I'm thinking about the logo and the port that everybody's pushing. And I think why we did cross country and wrestling is those were programs we had, and we tried to save them. And that's why we did whatever we could for the kids that were currently in high school. And so, you know, that's how we did those co-ops. But it's not adding. Even though we're adding numbers, I mean, our population is crazy right now, they're not all in sports. And so I would like to see us use what we have and build those programs. And one big example would be the softball programs and the baseball, you know, to the high school. Because if we get them interested, and they'd be, you know, they would move right up and we wouldn't lose them. So that's just some of the thoughts I was reflecting on. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Next on the list to sign up is Bill Parks.
I'm also going to refer to item 21. I guess my thinking with listening to some of the people, yes, they did a survey, yes, a number of people signed up, but when the nuts and bolts came right down to it, Justin said it, there was one serious golfer. So to try to house a team with one golfer and go to tournaments where you need a team of 5, to even have a team, and club teams are ineligible to participate in regional sectionals from things that I've been told. There's some other information about, I heard Max talk about Port Pride. I have been in contact with Nakusa. I have the luxury of working in that district. And after being in contact with Megan several times, who actually came to me asking about this, saying they don't care if our kids who join their team are decked out in all Port attire. They can, if they're doing a co-op, if Carson's part of it, he could go dressed in black and orange and have Port Golf on his polo. And they are fully aware of that and are willing, from what I've been told, to have that be a reality. As far as the transportation, yes, Carson's young right now, and to be honest, he's probably the only one that we're seriously talking about right now. Yes, he's part of the track team. I would say by default, his absence is not going to affect baseball. The door, as far as the other co-ops, opening the door for others, when you have the door open for wrestling and you have it open for cross-country, I would argue that door is already open for the people that may want to go elsewhere. I don't know what the future is going to hold. If down the road, 3-4 years, there's enough interest, bring it back, fine. I would be perfectly happy with that. But here you have one young man who loves the game of golf, who's pretty good at it. I would argue he's better at it than he is at track, and he's not a terrible track athlete. Is he state caliber at track? No. Is there the possibility he could be and bring Port to that front in golf as part of a team? Yes, there is. I believe there is. I think the Nakusa coaches believe there is. As far as the transportation and the practice, I'm willing to take that responsibility completely on myself until he reaches driver ed age, where he will then have access to a vehicle to get him where he needed to be. So it's not going to be a burden on the district for transportation. I find it interesting that when it comes down to the actual vote, the numbers kind of come out of the woodwork. I'm all for supporting Port athletics. I've coached in this community. I've been part of the youth basketball program, the youth baseball program for, I don't know, since my oldest boy, who's now 22, was what, 7, 6? So I have a vested interest in a lot of the athletes here in this community too. But I'm looking out right now for one. And if I don't, then I'm not doing my job as a parent. The numbers go to prove it. Yes, you have kids sign up for things that they don't know what they're signing up for. To be perfectly honest, I think I mentioned it early on, that was going to be an outcome. There's going to be kids that, yeah, I'm all gung-ho for it, but when it comes right down to it and you look at the serious, I think we're looking at one right now. And to deny one a good opportunity when it's not going to affect the baseball program at all, in my mind, because Carson has not gone out for baseball in a couple of years. You're looking at track, you're looking at one athlete. I know the relays were there. He's a jumper. Yes, he does participate in a relay, oftentimes as an alternate. So are you taking the star athlete out? I'm not going to say he's a star track athlete. I think he would agree with me. You can ask him. He's sitting right here. You're more than welcome to ask him what he wants, and I'm quite sure he would be willing to offer his 2 cents. And I know he's not on the list to talk. So I would hopefully encourage all of you to, and I see the wording on here that it's the recommendation to co-op. I would hope you would all agree to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak? To address the board, they're more than welcome to. What was that?
We talk again.
What's our time?
We have 2 minutes before this part is closed. Go quick, Max.
Yeah.
I did have a chance to speak with a couple baseball players today regarding this, as it was on the board. And you would see us lose a program if we did this. However, I think there's also other things that Mr. Crandall's been looking into to get Carson involved in golf through the Port Edwards name. And that's all I'm going to say. Thanks for listening.
30 seconds. My question is, what do you do the next time somebody sits there and asks for swimming at Lincoln for their child? The next person asks for soccer. I get it. I love Carson to death. I get it. It's nothing personal. I'm just a little bit worried about all of the programs in general. That's, and I hope you know what I'm saying. I hope they understand. He understands that. So, because, yeah, we had hockey, we had soccer, yeah.
Bill? They all said they want choice. Every one of them said, we're all for student choice. So it's up to interpretation. If they could house a team here, I would be all for it. Personally, I don't think the numbers are going to be there to actually house a formal WIAA sanctioned team that can host events. If you lose 2, 3 baseball players, you still aren't going to have enough for a team. If it goes to a club team, they're denied some of these other opportunities at possible tournament play.
Okay, the time is up for this.
I could clarify
Section.
something though. I emailed the WIA
Go
today
ahead.
and talked to our conference commissioner. We need one. We need one golfer.
One kid. Here he
Hey,
is.
hey, hey.
Not for a team.
We need, he's right, you couldn't win a team championship. But is that what we're here for in Fort Edwards? He could golf, he could be in the playoffs, he could win a conference title as an individual. It's been looked in. I have the emails, I can share them.
Okay, thank you all for your input. on that. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Number 9, consider approval of minutes of the past meeting. Is there a motion?
Second?
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, consider approval of financial reports. Are there any gifts?
We had a gift from Mrs. Custer, donated some musical instruments to the elementary music program, which included some ukuleles, I understand.
Great. All right, with the gifts, seek a motion to approve financial reports.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. On to unfinished business. Number 11, second reading of policy updates as previously presented.
So there is just one policy I wanted to bring back to your attention that we had gone through in its entirety, and this is the policy on committees. And this would be the language for that policy on committees. Basically stating that the committees, if there is a committee, it will be comply with the law in terms of open meetings. They may provide public participation and recording of appropriate minutes, and it will require a quorum consisting of a majority of its members to take any action. And those are board-appointed committees. So is what that is referring to. And it says that the committees may be created, or ad hoc committees may be created or changed at any time by the president, and members shall serve on the committee until discharged. So it's basically just a general policy that covers committees. So the only other item that was just of note when we went through the policy last time was policy 5111, part-time open eligibility of resident and non-resident students. And we just had to change a little bit of language in that particular policy dealing with not youth or course options, but we had to just change some language in there to part-time open enrollment to comply with what the new state law is. So but that is it. None of the others from reading 1 to reading 2 changed.
State law changed too.
Yeah, that is, we just didn't have that in its full entirety when we went through it. So
Okay.
with that it. Unless you had other questions on those policies from
Any other questions?
before.
Then we'll seek approval of the updates to the policy as previously presented.
So
with-
moved. Second it.
With Kyle's addition. Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. New business. Consider approval of Spanish class trip spring 2019.
Miss Frizell is here tonight to, our Spanish teacher, to present her request for a Spanish trip.
Yes, and as I said, I don't know how all this official stuff goes. Can I approach your table with paper? May I approach the bench? I watched a lot of Matlock. Okay. Sorry. I'd say I get weird when I'm nervous, but I'm kind of always here. You're welcome. Okay, so The proposal basically is to be able to take high school students, again, to Costa Rica, which in my education of past Port Edwards events, practice history, et cetera, is that this has been done before. I understand there was a funds-related snafu last time. That would certainly not occur again. But the trip I'm proposing, you have the details, the itinerary there on top, and the kind of the breakdown. It's the student booklet, but it kind of breaks down all the policies and procedures. This is the same company that the district has traveled with in the past. They're based in Wisconsin, very reliable, very well-known, really solid history. They can send us a something rather fancy insurance certificate if you want. So the idea would be to go at spring break time next year. The way it works for the company to schedule it, I suppose with costs and being able to visit the given places on the given days, is that it's a Wednesday departure. So the idea would be to put it on spring break time, either a couple days of school before spring break and then into spring break, or leaving midway through spring break, and then the kids would miss the first couple days back. The approximate cost is $2,450. Depends which city we depart out of. As you can see on the itinerary there, if you look on the bottom right, it's 8 days, including the travel days, 7 nights. 3 of those nights are either in a hotel or a lodge. And then 4 nights is a homestay experience with a family, and all those families are well known and vetted by the company also. Also regarding the cost, all meals are included. The whole time they're in Costa Rica, every meal is included, which isn't always the case. A lot of different student travel companies, which I've dug into a lot. I've traveled with one other. That's usually not the case. Usually it's breakfast and supper and 2 lunches, or you know what I mean? So that's kind of a nice perk that goes along with, included in the price. I don't have numbers of kids because I didn't want to kind of advertise and talk with the kids a lot before I had brought it to you all and had the approval. I wanted to get them all worked up about a trip, and then, whatever thing, maybe snag we might hit. And then, so I don't have numbers for you, although the little bit of teasing of, yes, I'm working on a trip, or, oh yeah, where are we going? There seems to be lots of interest. Again, who knows how many would come through, but that's what I have on my little list to talk about. What questions do you have that I didn't answer?
I would assume it pretty much mirrors the past trips to Costa Rica that they've done. I would have to probably.
Yeah, we could maybe ask Lisa on that. I know that she has gone along on those trips. Obviously, I wasn't here for those either.
The kids stayed more so with the home parent, or with the in the homes.
When we did go, we spent the
Entire-
students did stay with the family the whole time.
That's what I thought.
The whole time. There was no hotel stay.
Yeah, the company has I want to say 5 different Costa Rica itineraries, and I sat down with them all and tried to compare. The reason I chose this one is because it gives the kids the widest array of opportunity for all the different activities. They want to go ziplining, they want to have time at the beach, we want them to be able to go through the rainforest, you want them to see the coffee farm, you want them to go to the pineapple plantation, because none of them know pineapples grow on the ground. And they spend a day doing service work. So you're right, this one is, and they said the first night it depends what time you end up arriving. If you end up in a hotel that's closer to, where the airport is located. Otherwise, it's kind of a lodge type, so it's not like a, big hotel full of hundreds of people. It's a smaller facility and kind of in the rainforest, so that's exciting.
And then the other question, if it's exactly the same, where the fundraising is paying for the entire trip, correct? Or is there some?
No, that wouldn't be my expectation.
I
That's
don't
a
think
pretty
that it was
lofty.
fundraised completely. There was students.
wasn't?
No.
Well, and student, what I'm saying,
Student, right.
and fundraising.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that
It
it's.
wouldn't be school funded.
Right, that's,
Correct.
I didn't,
Correct.
right.
Yes.
Sorry, as much fundraising.
Right.
To make it,
Right.
right, because it did,
as much as the
Cost.
kids are willing to
Right.
work on fundraising, I will help them. I am not gonna spend hundreds of hours of fundraising when they don't work on that. Yeah, you know, I've been around the block a few times. I know how that can be. You know, nobody wants to show up for fundraising, but they all want fundraising money, kind of thing. So, yeah, that would be clear expectations. Whatever fundraising we would raise would be divided up by the kids who participated in that fundraiser. And obviously, I'd work with Lisa on a way to keep those funds and allocate it to how much for which, you know, which kid had earned how much, et cetera. The down payment, and you can see this in the book too if you were to look, is $350. And so that would obviously be pre any fundraising, you know, that locks the student in, and, you know, then we know the parents have the, you know, they're committed to it, and the kids as well, and so then we could start fundraising. The reason I wanted to come to the May school board meeting is that if you were to approve it, I would get the information out to kids as soon as possible so that they would know. I don't know exactly what that first payment deadline would be. I'd have to work with the company and see how all that would work, but I want to get it to the kids as soon as possible so they have motivation to work and earn this summer, and they have lots of time to save, right? Put it on their birthday list and their Christmas list and everything.
What would you anticipate the student population on this trip would be?
That is a wonderful question.
Ballpark.
25, 30?
Oh, boy. Yeah, that'd be a big group, but I don't know, they all sound very enthusiastic. You know, how many have the commitment and the funds, and, you know, obviously that always lowers the number. You know, the reality is. I don't know. My guess would be between 10 and 20. Yeah.
I like the idea that that they have the homestay, but they also get these other opportunities, because I
Right.
think that's important too. I think the homestay is wonderful.
It is wonderful, right.
But I think being able to do these other things is great too.
I think this offers them kind of the best of both worlds. And like I said, I've looked into lots of companies. A lot of them don't offer a service experience, you know, like they would have on day 6. A lot of companies don't do that. You know, a lot of them don't do a homestay. And, you know, it's okay. I mean, they can still get the culture, but there's nothing like being in a home. You know, and the kids would do that, they would be assigned to that in pairs, which always makes the kids feel a little bit better too. You know, they're not just one kid going with this, oh my God, who are these people? I did that when I was 17 years old, and I cried. I was so afraid to go with this family. I didn't know. I'm like, oh my God, goodbye. Okay, I'll see these people tomorrow at our activity, but still, that's a scary thing. So I like that this company does it, you know, sends the kids in pairs. So.
And from past history, this was an absolute awesome trip.
Yeah,
And that
my daughter went, it would have been probably
So did mine.
Yep.
6 years ago, I guess, 7 years ago, whenever that is, whenever they went. But I think it was a very nice experience, and to get out there and experience the other cultures and try to use some of the language that they've learned. They figure out that they don't know Spanish near as well as what they thought they did.
Yeah.
So.
And on the flip side, sometimes they figure out they can do more than they thought they'd be. You
Right.
know, once they actually get over the, I'm afraid
And-
to try
and-
to say
yeah.
something though, oh, I actually can put this stuff together. Actually, that's our
It was
goal, of course.
a great experience for my daughter.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a nice thing to bring back, and we won't have those similar issues that
Right,
we had
right.
where it was.
I mean, you pay me well enough, I don't need their fundraising. But yeah, and actually just the global experience, the eye-opening of not everywhere is like home looks like here, and, you know, the world's a big place. I mean, that's good for kids going into college, going into jobs, you know, to have that, you know, employers, I mean, I'm sure some of you have been, you know, that's a good quality to look for in an employee as well, so. Be a good advantage to our kids in many ways, I would think.
Thank you for the work you've put into this and for bringing it to us, because I think it's valuable.
Absolutely.
Would you like these back? Because I don't necessarily need
If
to
you
read
don't,
you.
yes, if you don't want to take it home and read it.
I'm aware of exactly what's in there.
You know what's up. Okay.
I wrote on my own.
You know, just like the
This
student.
every
But you didn't put your name on it.
I would like to keep that.
It's just fine. Okay, anything else you need from me then?
Chaperones.
Oh, yes, chaperones. Oh, and if you say yes, you know, on a personal level, if you approve the trip, you'll make me a very popular person in the district. And yeah. All these people are like, Justin's the most excited because I do need a male chaperone.
I sat by her for a reason.
Yeah, he saved me a chair for a
Whoa.
reason. Yeah.
Shameless. Shameless.
They are.
Gotta tell the truth.
They are. Stacy pulled a chair back next to me where there wasn't one.
I took you to the Delson.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will seek a motion to approve the Spanish class trip.
I so move.
I second it.
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Is there a drop dead date, time, number where if the support is not what we're anticipating, it can be canceled without financial impact on the people who have already signed up?
That's a great question, Leo, that to be honest, I don't know the specific answer to that question.
I would not anticipate that happening, but
Right.
I know that in past experiences, class trips, excursions, extras that are pricey get put on the calendar, and then XYZ happens, and all of a sudden I'm assuming this agency requires a minimum number of people to make this work.
Yes.
And if that doesn't happen, what happens to everybody else?
Right. Well, 6 is the minimum number for me not to have to pay for my own trip to go watch kids for a week, so.
What's the number for me?
I mean, that's a thing. You probably would need supervision.
Okay, look at 12.
If I remember correctly, that first down payment is lost if you cancel after that point.
Oh, probably, because that's probably, Kyle, maybe you can speak to that, maybe that's basically the situation of last time, and we talked about that, kids didn't get there.
Right, if that first 350 or whatever it is, if I understand or remember correctly, is that you're locked in, and if you don't, you decide you're out, you're out.
It's like earnest money in real estate deal.
Pretty much.
If you don't go through,
Right.
it's gone.
It's like your earnest money, right.
Exactly.
So-
And that's, once I send it in, if I have only 2 kids turn their stuff in and we decide not to do the trip, I'm not gonna have mailed them in, they would get those back, But if an individual would, decide later on to pull out, I think that dump payment.
For, how many years of Spanish do they, or maybe first year Spanish students?
I would like to require them to be at least enrolled in Spanish 2. I know it's the end of the year, but it gives them, a little bit stronger foundation, a little bit more confidence. If we were kind of close on numbers, maybe we could use another kid or 2, and if I had a Spanish 1 kid who I really thought was advanced, but because they have to kind of sign up so early, that's a pretty rare instance.
How many students right now would be eligible?
Oh,
How many?
let's see. Darn, I put my pen away. 15 are right now in Spanish 1. I know of only 1 who's told me that he can't fit it in his schedule for next year. So that's 14. Spanish 2 has 20 kids. Spanish 3 has 11. Spanish 4 has 5 kids. So, it's certainly enough bodies that, a percentage of that number could make a decent trip size.
Maybe there's a way, once you throw the gates open for this, to establish some type of fund or place to sit on when you find out what the minimum number is, so that people aren't disappointed. If we haven't sent the money in, we aren't going to lose it. And if it's 6, well then maybe you park that money in some district account somewhere until we got 6, and then send it and make sure that nobody loses it. I just don't want to see some kid who struggles to come up with the money lose $350 if for some reason this thing goes south.
Oh, I agree.
So, okay. My questions are answered.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. It is approved. Next item, consider approval of health insurance plan for 2018-2019.
The health insurance study group met twice and looked at proposals from Security Health. The initial renewal came in at a 24% increase. After some negotiations, it was ratcheted down to a 12%. And then we asked for options beyond that if there were other options. At 12%, that would be an additional cost on a yearly basis. I'm sorry, I just had this number sitting on here, and of approximately per person on the family plan, for instance, of $2,172. So we didn't feel that was really an acceptable point to be at. So we asked for some options, and we did receive some. Associated Financial was able to get us some options from Security Health. Our study group went through those and is recommending passage of what we would call option one. And there were really two options that it boiled down to. Option one keeps the deductibles the same as they currently are, but does add in a copay on drug coverage after the deductible. It does increase the out-of-pocket limits from $2,000 and $4,000 to $3,000 and $6,000, but the deductible itself remains $2,000 and $4,000, and the copay is only on drug coverage. Copay isn't on the other medical coverage. The other option was to go to a $3,000 and $6,000 embedded deductible plan. After really looking at the financials behind all of that, the better option was really to go with the copay option. It would have less effect on folks. That brought our increase in premium. There would still be an increase in premium of 5.86%. This group has really functioned and really tried to present things under the idea of not paying premium to an insurance company, allowing staff members to deal with those things through their HSA accounts, their health savings accounts. And one of the pieces in here that would lessen exposure, at least on the district side, would be the removal of the district's. The last 2 years, the district has put in as a 1 year at a time. It's either a $500 bump into the HSA account for a family plan or a $250 for the individual. The district would look to sunset that now, as we had originally talked about when we put the original plan in place. That would be, the employees would still be able to put that money in the HSA, would be able to put money in the HSAs. There just wouldn't be a district contribution there. That would bring our, again, that would be about a 5.8% total increase, essentially split then between the district and the employees putting more money in there. The district would cover the premium increase. The employees would have to put in more money into their HSAs. So we recommend at that study group really talked about this over a couple of days and looked at this and recommend option one, which was the drug co-insurance or the copays.
I would make a motion that we approve option one for the health insurance plan.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of 2018-2019 support staffing plan.
Brought you a support staffing plan that does a couple of things. One, it preserves the current staff positions where they're at in the support staff, but also adds a position into food service to assist with the large increase of almost a very large increase of volume at the middle school, high school in terms of serving volume. That position would be a part-time position at about 2.5 hours. Also adding a maintenance position. Actually, basically, this would be a cleaning position. Again, taking into consideration that when we were mothballing classrooms 3 and 4 years ago, that we reduced maintenance, but now almost all of that space, including more space, has been opened up and we are using, and there are simply more students, and would be essentially restoring what was reduced 3 years ago. So adding a half-time position in maintenance, along with adding a 2-hour a week to the school nurse. The other pieces, and we'll come back to you with a formal plan on IT. We've been working with Sonata on IT, but come back to you in June with that one piece. But approve the rest of the plan this evening so that when we are able to, we can get letters of assurance out.
All right, seek a motion to approve the support staffing plan for 28.
Second.
I will recuse myself from voting on this.
All right, any other discussion?
I can really see that it's important with more kids at the other school that we need the extra time in food service and in maintenance to clean up after the bodies. Feed them and clean them after.
Yeah, next year we'll certainly have more classroom
Right.
space being used than we have had in many years.
And we definitely have to come back to the IT position, because
Yep.
if we've got Chromebooks and computers in the school, they have to be running, or there's no sense having them.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is consider approval of non-resident pupils 2018-2019 school year open enrollment applications.
I recommend your approval of the applications that meet the criteria.
So move.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is consider approval of 2018-2019 lunch, breakfast, and milk prices.
So we are still behind the USDA requirements for our food service prices. We try to play catch up every year, but I don't think you ever necessarily get completely caught up. And so what we're recommending, we do need to raise our prices to get to where those USDA recommendations, or what those requirements are, I should say. And so it would be a 10-cent increase on the price of lunches for those that are fully paid, a 10-cent increase on breakfast, and a 5-cent increase on milk.
Still cheap.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking $2.70 for a high school lunch. So it's a pretty good price, yeah.
Seek a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of 2018-2019 district student handbooks.
So we're bringing forward the middle school and high school handbooks. The reason we bring these forward at this time is we will return to having these printed in the student planners. That way every student, we have to assure that we get one in the hands of every student. That's how we do that. Then we're not printing those on our own. We did a major revamp of these last year to bring them up to the standard policy that we have now adopted. There is only one major change between the two handbooks. It's a couple of dates yet we have to insert, but we just need to insert those yet as we tackle those. So it's not really a dates thing, but the only major change was the youth options program. We had to change the wording of that to meet the new language in the state of Wisconsin. So in terms of the Start College Now program that's out there for the tech schools, and the new programs out there for the 4 years. So that was really the only language change that came out of that this year.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the district student handbooks.
Second it.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Do you need separate motions for each, or can they be run together?
They can be run together.
Run together, okay. A and B? Okay.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 19, consider approval of amendment to 2018-19 calendar language regarding makeup days.
So, I'll call this the blizzard, the multiple blizzard rule. The consideration, so the motion would basically be to allow the first 2 snow emergency days not to be made up by students. The third snow emergency day would be made up either by altering the calendar for the April or May scheduled professional development days, or adding a day to the end of the school year. The reason that's an either or is depending on when things happen. If it's a week from that particular day, we're probably not going to change it at that point. Yeah, but if we have the time to change it, and then it also allows that we would be able to alter that May professional development day, and so that would essentially be the gist of that motion for next year's calendar. Essentially puts the same fix in that you had this year, but it does allow us the alteration of those calendar days. We have plenty of contact hours, so.
Well, you wouldn't expect to have to make an adjustment in the middle of April, but, surprise.
Yeah.
We had snow a few years ago on May 7th.
Yes.
Saw it on my calendar.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to approve the amendment to the calendar language?
So moved. I second it.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 20, consider approval of 2018-2019 employee contract. 1 FTE, 612 Social Studies, Joe Hintz.
We bring Joe Hintz. He's had a couple of years of teaching experience, went through the interview process. We did 2 sets of interviews, and I recommend his approval as our new social studies teacher. This would be the new position, so that nobody gets worried that Tim Miller has left us. So,
Yeah. So move.
I second it.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 21, consider approval of a high school golf co-op in the Coosa School District for the 2018-2019 school year.
So I bring this proposal to you for the golf co-op. Obviously, we've had quite a bit of discussion already this evening. This has been studied throughout this past year. Couple of just notes as I bring this to you. So we have approximately 42 student athletes participating this spring. We have approximately 75 students not participating in sports this spring. So it's certainly incumbent upon us, whatever we do, to continue to try to respond to those students' needs and have them, we'd like them to participate in something, whether it be sports, or if sports isn't their thing, something else. And that split is fairly equal between the male and female athletes. So the addition of the golf co-op would be open to girls as well. That's how that works with programs such as golf. So this might be a boys' season, but it is open to girls to participate. The other comment that I'll just offer on this is one thing that the WIA has mentioned at different meetings that I've been to is that schools should be responsive to the changing needs of their students. So I think we do have to ask ourselves some questions about our overall participation. Part of this is a response to the fact that we're down to less than 100 students a year ago. We're at about 116, 117 right now in the high school. If the classes continue to flow through the way they are, the high school will probably be pushing the 140 to 150 mark in about 4 or 5 years. As those numbers, it'll take a few years for those numbers to flow in. We would certainly want to see our numbers. We want to continue to get students out for athletics. whether the numbers are 150 in the high school or 100 in the high school. The other piece is, we've taken a year, and this has come up, golf had come up previously at one point. We'd taken a year to beat this around. So, if the board so chooses to go with the co-op, that probably answers that question. If the board doesn't, there may be alternatives, but one way or the other, I think we got to move something forward. With that, that's your item at this point. So.
Can we ask our audience some additional questions?
That would be up to you as to how you want to. There's no motion on the floor at the moment.
Okay.
It's on here on the agenda. You can certainly put the motion on the floor, open discussion amongst yourselves. And if you had other questions, that is your prerogative.
I'll move the question for discussion.
You have to vote on it?
Need a second.
Oh, yeah, I need a second.
Yeah, I would like to comment on this. Nice to see.
Second first?
Probably need a second.
Oh,
second.
okay,
Second.
that's what you
I'll
want.
second.
I thought he opened it
Second.
for
It's
discussion.
coming, it's coming.
Okay.
Now I think it is.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion to
No,
open it?
no, you just have you have the
Ask some questions.
if there is no motion, the item dies. So in order to discuss it, you forward it as a motion.
Right.
So it's now been moved and seconded. Now you can open discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Carrie.
So I'll start.
Go
I'll
ahead.
start. So, sorry, jumped the gun. So I was starting to say is it's nice to see a lot of people come here and speak on this issue. If it's something that is definitely at their hearts, and I think there was a lot of good comments made. And I know one thing specifically, not that other people didn't have good comments. I did really hit on Donna's notion about especially the middle school, because I know right now the middle school is, and some of it goes to some of the stuff that Kyle said, is that we don't have maybe as many kids participating in sports in general, but getting that notion out there to get more involved with some of our current sports and keep those sports viable throughout. Not that we want to ever take one, or what's the word I was looking for there, Tracy? Abandon any one student, but we also want to make sure, to Justin's point, Beck, that is, that we don't want to lose these sports either. I tend to agree with a lot of the people that spoke tonight about keeping our sports where they're at without opening those floodgates to more co-ops and more potential for losing some of our long-standing sports that have been such a tradition for Port Edwards.
Yeah. Max and a couple of other people used terminology indicating that if you engage in a co-op, you said the floodgates are open. Help me understand that. The way I understand this, and correct me if I'm not grasping this correctly, this proposal deals with one sport, golf, and one school district, Nakusa, co-oping with us. Explain why this would expose us to additional loss or gain. I'm curious. I don't understand
This is
that.
the first sport we've been approached about co-oping with.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, we've talked to two other parents that have their own interest and they want their son or daughter to participate in those sports. So we're opening up a co-op for, at this time, one person. How can we say no when another parent comes in and says, I want to send my kid to Nakusa for soccer? That's the floodgates I was talking about. I can't speak for Max, but I feel like we're opening up a big old can of worms.
So it's not. I understood that to mean that our action tonight would expose the possibility of, based on what you said, Max, I took that to mean that you were inferring that this would open it up to all manner of everything, but that still would require action to proceed to each other one. It becomes an equity question.
Equity meaning Title IX
Well,
type
no,
equity?
No, I mean, in terms of what you said, treating everybody, trying to treat everybody the
Sure,
same
yes.
in terms of,
Yep.
in terms of the process. Okay, so it was more figure of speech than it was an actual event in terms of opening it to everything else. It still would require action by the board.
It would still require action for the board. but-
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I just-
if we open it up this year for a co-op with golf, and then next fall, someone comes to us and says they want their child to go
Mhm.
play soccer, then we're back at this again, correct? And then, potentially. And then in the winter, someone comes and says they want their child to play hockey. So then we have the hockey issue. Is that what you're
Yes.
addressing?
And, you know,
Okay.
our students, our parents know what we offer. In the 6 years I've been here, I can count 2 kids that have left because we didn't offer what they had. You don't go to a small school assuming you're going to have 15 varsity sports. That's just the way it is. Would we love to offer everything? Yeah. But like I said, look at our numbers right now.
On the flip side, let me accent the positive. In fall, volleyball, you probably don't know this, I have a 6th grader and a freshman in a long time. Lisa had to open up a freshman team for volleyball. So we have good things going on. There was 3 teams for varsity, JV, and a freshman team we housed in fall because that's all girls can play. My daughter, 6th grader, so excited to follow her sister's steps. 22 sat the bench, 6 played because they're so excited. So there are good things. I mean, like when I look at that program in fall, it's all this. There's no competition. Woo, numbers were high. So you know the things that are happening. Are, I'm just using volleyball for an example. That's great. Both of my girls encountered big teams, lots of kids. But there's only one sport.
There's actually 3 sports in reality, because girls can go out for
Oh,
cross-country and
sorry,
they can
you're
go out for
right.
football.
You're right.
Did we have any cross-country? Yeah, we did. We did this year.
Yeah, we had a
Okay.
handful this year.
Okay. And Nakusa. How about
Probably our
wrestling?
best year for cross country in quite a while.
And how about wrestling?
0.
0 this year.
Zero.
But in the past.
0. I don't think we've had a wrestler in 3 years, Kyle.
I want to say it's been 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Can I ask Justin another question? If this proposal is rejected, if we opt not to go with the Nakusa Co-op, you indicated that there were options for Corey to play golf if he wanted to.
Yep.
Can you elaborate on that?
So basically the deadlines are very similar in terms of whether you're going to start a sport or co-op for a sport. So we'd have to get going by, I believe the date is June 2nd, June 1st, whatever the co-op and start date is. So we would have to formally apply with the WIA and say we'd like to start a golf team. And as Kyle mentioned before, since we only offer boys golf, it could be open to girls as well. So that would be the process in terms of applying for it. It's that simple in terms of we send it to the WIA, they'll approve it at their board of control or whatever meeting they have, and we have a golf team.
Can I ask Bill and Jody what Justin just said? Is this an option? I mean, I'm throwing it, you're laughing at it without warning. I'm curious about hearing what you're.
I don't know. I had to leave to take Carson somewhere, and when we walked out, his concern was, yeah, you can do the individual thing, but the chance at him going to whatever levels as an individual, where if you are part of a team of 5, where a team concept can maybe have a better chance if you have the 1 or 2 extremely good golfers, the whole team goes to the state competition, that could off, or to the regionals or to sectionals, could offer him something a little bit different.
And are you going to want to have a coach for one student?
Yeah, who would be the coach? Nakusa already has coaches in place. They have the facilities in place that have been arranged for their team. As for the time away from the classroom, yeah, I know there's a few of the golf meets that get rather long. If we're really looking at one student and it's Carson, I would beg every one of you to call up his grades right now and take a look at that and say that him missing a day of school when he came home and complained that his midterm progress report went down because he had 5 A minuses instead of only 2. I'm not sure that the out of the classroom issue is really quite viable right now. And to be very honest, this whole thing was brought to my attention from Nakusa. They're the ones who came to me, which is why I came to you. That's where it started. This wasn't me starting it. This was them asking. They know because I work with a couple of them out at Arrowhead during the summer, and they've seen Carson out there. They know what he's capable of. They're the ones who broached it with me. I told Carson I would pursue it. I did. So I think
I just want to say one thing too. You know what? Carson is going to have port pride no matter if he is at playing golf in Nakusa or if he is in Port Edwards. The kid bleeds black and orange, so you can't say that port pride is going to go away because of playing golf at a different school. And
he's already co-op
and I
with them
I
for
think
cross
any
country.
kid who co-ops and is in a sport at a co-oping school, your pride still runs deep to where you have grown up and gone to school. It's not going to take away your pride. No color of a jersey or whatever is taken away your pride in your school. Just my personal opinion.
My concern is, like Carrie said, was that with the existing programs, I'm worried about possibly down the road not being viable, and I guess that's my big concern with this.
And I would say my concern is, like it's been brought up already too, is if they want to co-op for one student for this, they're going to want to co-op for one student for something else. We're going to want to co-op with one student for something else. And I get that we have to take each student, seriously and understand their passions and stuff, but we are a small school. And ever since, I was in a small school growing up, your options are less. As far as how many, options you have for sports and whatnot, and we have to grow what's growing. We have to continue to try to involve, I suppose, as many of the students as possible.
Can I ask a question? Does it cost the school district anything to co-op other than the gifts with costs with uniforms?
What's the price?
The charge is $1,000. That's what we've been, at this point.
Is that for all sports or is
That's been our per sport charge on co-oping.
Any other discussion?
If this is rejected and the golf program in-house is offered, is, based on your survey, Justin, is there a chance that some other folks may come out of the woodwork for this?
Well, 18 people said yes. So if it's here and in-house, can I say that those that said yes will come out? No, I can't. But, all we can do is offer it to them.
Understood.
I seek a motion or no?
No,
We already have a
your
motion
on
You
the
got a
floor.
motion and a second.
We already have a
so you
motion and a
gotta
second.
call
Motion
for a
and a
vote
second.
if you're gonna close discussion.
And the motion is,
The motion is to approve. That was my original motion.
that was, yeah. Okay, motion and a second to approve the high school golf co-op with the Nakusa School District for the 18-19 school year. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. So the motion is not carried.
Rejected.
So, go on to number 22, consider approval of the Cupola repair project.
We've brought this to you in the past, and the unfortunate thing is, I think the one thing our lesson in our big gym has probably taught us, and is why we've really had this project in our sights, is all we're doing is deferring this maintenance the longer we push this down the road. Even at this point, approving this into next year's budget does not guarantee this will be done this summer. We do have existing ceiling damage. My proposal to you is that this has really been the wheelhouse of Culps. We did have two proposals on the table, one from Merriwood. The Merriwood proposal would simply box in, and it would look as it currently does. It would take away any architectural that currently exists there. The proposal from Culps, there were two proposals on the table from Culps. One was a complete rework and restoration. It's about $20,000 more than Merriwood's proposal. The other was for basically what would be a look-alike restoration. Culps has done this on many structures, and we've seen some of their samples. It would look like the cupola used to look like if you were standing down on the ground, but they're using effects in their building materials to make it look that way. Much less expensive proposition at $33,000. Either way, there would still be, even if we pass this tonight, I think there would be an opportunity. I know Tim had talked about the opportunity to raise funds. My concern is we would still have that opportunity. We could do that. My concern would be the further we push this off and push it off, it's not going to get on somebody's calendar. It may not get on a summer calendar already. We may be doing this in the spring of next year. We've had buckets in the cupola collecting water in the past. We've got it temporarily solved with some caulk, but that caulk is only a temporary. The rotting that's occurring there is going to continue to occur regardless of the caulk. So I would ask your approval, and again, we can talk about, do we want to fundraise some of this? That's yeah, but I think we got to get this on a calendar and get it moving. We've had ceiling damage all the way down to the main hallway on this with water in the past. So I'd ask your consideration for that.
I'll move
Second.
approval.
A second.
Motion and a second to approve the repair project as presented. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 23, consider approval of teacher resignation effective 2018-2019 school year. Teresa Beeman.
Yep, I'd ask your approval of that teacher resignation at this time.
I will make that motion, although with sadness.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Consider approval of 6603 agreement with Nakusa School District.
This is for special education services for one student. These are services that we typically contract out because we do not have the capacity in-house, so.
I make a motion to approve the 6603 agreement with Nakusa School District.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Item 25, consider approval of volunteer coach Edward Gesser.
We'd make that recommendation that you accept that volunteer coaching.
This is for baseball.
It's for baseball. Yep.
Second.
And a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Next item is opportunity for individual board member comments. Go ahead, Kath.
I just read on the webpage for the school district about the May 4th High School Student Recognition Day, and I think that was awesome. We do a lot of recognition for sports, and I think recognizing music and math league and junior achievement and forensics and all of those things is very important, and I'm glad that we did that also. I also am very happy with the grant that Tim Martin received from Alliant Energy for a big amount of money to help with the Monarch Village Park. I think that's going to be a really great asset. And I was at the band and choral concert last night. That was great. And I did have an opportunity today to go to the 4K program. I visited both the morning and afternoon class and was really impressed with the program and the students. I think Mrs. Brunig and Mrs. Bies are doing a wonderful job down there. That's it.
Leo.
Congratulations to the seniors. Unfortunately, I will not be at graduation this year, as I will be out of state. It's a highlight of their year. I wish I could be there, but I unfortunately will not. I also want to congratulate all of you for coming tonight. All too often, we sit here in a vacuum. We meet each month, sometimes more than once a month, and we have no one or just a very, very small audience. You came and expressed an opinion, as is your right, and I wish more people would choose to do so. Local elected officials, whether they're school board members, town board members, village board members, can't operate in a vacuum. We need to have input. We need to have our constituents coming to us, telling us what they think. We may agree, we may disagree. Nonetheless, you play an important role, and I would encourage you and all those people listening to feel free to come to whatever local elected boards they feel strongly about, and if nothing else, simply observe. That's how democracy works. Thank you.
Tracy.
I would have to agree with Leo. That's exactly what I was going to say. I love when we see a full audience in here, especially when something brings a concern for everybody, like it did with co-oping or whatever the situation might be. I like hearing your opinions and your facts. The homework that you've done helps us to make the decision that we feel is best for our students as well. And again, my favorite part of the meeting was watching and listening to the student representatives. It kind of takes a lot to get up in front of us and then a full crowd, so that's neat, and it gives them an opportunity for some of that, a little bit of public speaking. So again, thanks for that. So it was good for them.
Agree with everything these other guys said,
And
and
girls.
and girls. We can't use guys to cover both of those. Is that not correct anymore?
Sorry, I'm a girl.
Agree with everybody else that's sitting here, and just want to comment on the weather minus today and Friday. It's getting nicer out, so get outside and get some activities going. Johnny.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring up what Kathy brought up. It was nice to see that everybody that was in non-sports activities was recognized with an event. It was great to see, and I also echo Leo's comments about coming tonight and expressing your opinion, because it's very important that everyone gets involved so we can make an informed decision. So with that, we go to Establish future board meetings, June 13th and July 18th are the next board meetings. And next item is seek a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second to go into closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We are in closed session.